Well, you
Yes.
mentioned that you wanted to talk about some of our earliest experiences with friendship. How our earliest friendships began. I think just generally,
Yeah.
So yeah, you want me to jump in, or do you
Well,
want to go first?
I was thinking about it. I was like, thinking about earlier friendships, and I think just from our conversations prior about friendships, which is how this all got started, because in getting to know each other, we talked about friendships a lot. Our friendships journeys were exactly opposite. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you had what I've always wanted, which is a good group of girlfriends, and
Mhm.
I have girlfriends kind of spread out around, but we're not like, I don't have a group of girlfriends that all know each other, that keep in contact with each other, and share
Yeah.
experiences, go on girlfriend trips and stuff like that, which I think I missed that friendship experience, and I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
you had.
You think what?
That's what you had, that type of
Oh, for
friendship
sure.
experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I can go back to my earliest memory of having a friend that wasn't a relative, or a sibling, I had one friend in elementary school. Um, and I think that's because that's the only friend that I wanted to have. It wasn't even that, oh, this is just these two girls are the only girls are talking to each other. It wasn't that way. I think I was just really possessive about that relationship. I was like, this is my friend. So I had one friend that I would play on the playground with, that I would talk on the phone with, even, in my elementary school days. And then once we got into middle school, that's when my friend group started to grow.
Mm.
So that's when I met these girls that we're talking about, that you mentioned, these girls that, we just formed this bond that we've been carrying on to this day. And there's also a man in that group. So
Mhm.
it's really it's these women and then this one man. Of course, we were all girls and boys at the time. Um, so that group really formed in about, I think, sixth grade. Yeah. And me and my best friend were on here talking about that a couple weeks ago. And we have maintained that for all of these decades.
Mm.
And so um, I'm always coaching, my clients that are struggling in relationships and friendships to, find ways to connect, talking about how you connect with friends, especially as adults, because sometimes that is a difficult thing to figure out.
Mhm.
You know, it's not a captive audience anymore. People are, out of college or out of all schooling that's formalized, right? And so you're out in the world. You might meet someone at work, but then you still have to figure out, well, how do I connect with this person? What do I do? What do I say? You know, sometimes it's just as simple as, hey, you want to meet for coffee so we can talk and get to know each other. And people are just, what? How do I do that? It's almost like they feel like it's like dating, you know. And in a way, it kind of is. In that, you can think about it that way, and it gets
Mhm.
kind of weird when you think about it that way, but it is like you have to engage the person, ask them something about themselves, find out what's interesting, be interesting yourself so
Mhm.
that they want to engage with you, and then we have to make and intentionally make moves to maintain the relationship, to develop it, and then to maintain it you
Yeah.
know
I think though, as adults, we have a greater fear of rejection than we did as kids.
Mm.
We I think that's where the hesitation and the barrier is, to continuing to grow your friend
Mm.
circle as adults, because you don't want to be rejected. You don't want to you have a little bit more hesitation in putting yourself out there than you did when you were in elementary school,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Um, because the pool was bigger when you were a kid at school, And so I think, you know, walking through that and processing, like, okay, why that fear of rejection is there. If it does happen, what can I do when it does happen? And, you know, how can I grow from that? How can I move on from that? Is what we
Mhm.
really want, again, to examine and
Yeah.
understand and give tools for. Because, I mean, you know, life doesn't stop at 20. You
No.
don't say, okay, I'm not going to make, I got my group of friends, I'm not going to make no more. You have so many different transitions that you're going to go through as a person, and you want, you know, you want a consistent group of people around you that encourage you and, like, you influence you, and you can be
Mm-hmm.
influenced differently. And so I'm wondering if when that conflict comes up, it's, you know, how do you handle conflict in friendship in those two different dynamics? And I think y'all handle it in a pretty healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we would have survived this long if we didn't do it the way that we do it. And it wasn't a spoken thing. It was just I don't know who was the bigger person to say, out loud that we're not unspoken things. I need to actually go back and ask them a couple questions about that because it kind of baffles me in this moment that we have been able to move through that stuff, you know?
I think though that is the benefit of the friend group piece, though, thinking about it, because I think there's an accountability to maintain that friend group,
Mm.
so you don't have that continued conflict. Whereas on my end, in my experience, because I don't have a friend group, and this is, I will be transparent and honest, this is probably unhealthy, but when I get into conflict with friends, I tend to just cut off and disengage.
Oh, yeah.
Don't judge me.
I'm not. I'm
But
just
that's because
reacting to it.
I'm
Like,
not
oh my
accountable
God.
to a group. You know, I'm not accountable
Mhm.
to maintaining a group. So I'm just like, I can just kind of disengage and I don't
Mhm.
resolve it. And I think that's where, I mean, personally, I would like to grow as a
Yeah.
friend, is being able to manage conflicts and work through conflicts if that does come up in my friendships.
For sure. Well, what was the value in this relationship? What did I get out of it? What have I learned?
Mm-hmm.
Are there parts of this relationship that should be preserved? You know, do I just want this friendship to have been just a surface level friendship, or do I want something of more depth? You
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah. And then what does that look like? What do I have to do in order to get to that level?
Exactly. What does that
You
look
know?
like? I think we sometimes feel like we cannot define and put boundaries around our friendships, and we can.
Mhm. Yes, we can. And we shall. And we should.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
To prevent,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think people think of friendships as toxic or, you know, abusive,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think we consider those things when we talk about friendships. We think of them in romantic relationships, but not
Yeah.
our friendships.
Definitely.
And I
Yeah. I,
think that's the examine part of what we're trying to do, is just to really get a deeper look into
mm-hmm.
what role friendships play in your life,
Right.
what impact
Yep.
they
How
make
you
who you are.
Yes, yeah. What you value, what your belief system is around friendships, recognizing friendships as any other kind of relationship. They're not separated necessarily or different. Like you said, you can be in a friendship that is not serving you at all. You could
Mhm.
be an abusive friendship, a toxic friendship. You could be in a friendship that you take for granted, that
Mhm.
that you just think this person's always going to be there, so you just do whatever. Um, Being able to state your needs in friendships, I think, is huge. It's important, and sometimes when we have relationships, friendships that last so long, have been so enduring, we think that our needs are the same as they were when we were kids, if we had a relationship with, our friends since we were children. And that's obviously not the case. Life changes, people grow, evolve.
I mean, I think that's why I brought it up to you. That's why you wanted to do it, is because when we're in that office, it comes up so much. It can be
Yeah.
so impactful to
Mhm.
who you are as a person, the type of friendships you have, and the experiences that you have with your friends. So